Hello and welcome to day 12 of my 12 days of DIY Christmas, where today we're starting out with just putting some white paint on these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use them later. I have these little houses that I had found online. I just took a screenshot of them and cleaned them up in Procreate and then cut them with my Cricut using Print and Cut. And then I made a duplicate of each one and just cut it out on solid white as a backer for these houses. I take my time right here showing you guys this Mod Podging simply because I filmed this in a time lapse, and because it moves so fast, the houses are rather blurry. Well, not so much blurry, but they move so quickly that you can't really see them very well. And I wanted to make sure that you guys had a good, clear image of what I'm doing before we get any further ahead, instead of just saving it for the end. Now I'm going to go around it, the solid white one, with the chunky yarn, go all the way around the edge, trying to follow the shape as best as possible. And then I fill up the center of it with the rest of the yarn, just because I want to keep them puffy and as dimensional as possible. And you guys, I think these turned out absolutely adorable. This has got to be one of my favorite projects that I've done. It is so simple, literally so cheap. It cost me the yarn, basically, and they are just adorable. They look so good and so finished, and they remind me of like the puffy ornaments that we would see back in the 70s and 80s, those vintagey, puffy, finished ornaments. I hope somebody knows what I'm talking about. Maybe you can leave it in the comments if you are familiar with what I'm trying to describe. I have tried slowing this footage down, and then it just looked really weird, and you've seen more of my hands than anything, so I rolled with it. Here you get a much better view of what I'm actually doing because it's a much larger piece. I'm pretty sure the mountain shape came from Design Space as one of the free images. And then I found the image of the Grinch's lair on Google and cleaned it up the same way I did the houses. As well as the little people and Max and the Grinch and all the other little figurines and pieces that come ahead, all same situation. And then I'm going to attach the layer to the mountain to give it more depth and put them up on top of it. And then 2 rows of 3 of the Jenga blocks on the back, and then another layer on top to just make sure it was stable enough. And then I go back and paint them later. I had just run out of painted blocks and didn't want to stop the process. And then I just used a paper straw as a pole for the Welcome to Whoville sign, and then just 3 blocks together as a little square for it to sit on. And then because it is kind of weighted with that extra yarn up on the top of there for this little straw, I go through with a lot of extra hot glue, but I kind of pull it out and up and around it to make it look like a snow pile, because I end up painting all of it white. Then I just go through and attach an additional block to each of these little houses because one just wasn't enough with that fluffy yarn on the bottom. They weren't very stable, especially when you put them on the fluffy fake snow blanket but one additional block and haven't fallen over once. And Cindy Lou Who, she is teeny tiny, so it took a little finessing to get a little bit more of a shapelier background, but I pulled it off. And then I decided that putting the black horizontally behind her is the best way to still have balance and look cute. And Max and the other Who characters, they were also a little bit more challenging to just try to get a little bit of shape to them. I didn't want it to just look like a block behind them. I wanted to try to keep their form as much as possible. I think that's what makes these look so cute. And her little neck, it's so skinny. But not as bad as this dude's. And I am going through very loosely with this. I'm just making sure that it doesn't cave in any spot. You definitely could just go around the edge with the yarn and then fill the rest of it with pillow stuffing. But I was able to make every single one of these items with yarn left over. Not much, but there was. I guess I should say from one skein of yarn, should clarify. And then this is also an image that I had found online, and it was just a square image, and I wanted the background of the Whoville characters singing around the Christmas tree. So I had just went ahead and put a little bit of wavy texture around the edges so it looks a little bit more wonky, like it belongs in Whoville. And I found that gluing it with the face down makes it a lot easier. Let gravity help you out there. And then I wanted it to curve. So I laid 3 blocks next to each other, but I did not attach them end to end. And then I take another block and set it on top of it while it's bent a little bit to hold the curve. And I didn't need much, I just wanted it to not be straight up against the Christmas tree background. And then I have this little sleigh that I had gotten for $3 at the at Family Dollar, as a little kit that you put together, and I had done it a long time ago, so that's why it's off camera. But I wanted to dress it up some, so I threw on the little Merry Grinchmas stickers and the Grinch head stickers, and then just going around the runners with some red glitter. And then I wanted to fill in the gaps of where these had connected, so I filled them in with hot glue and then dipped them with glitter. Make them just a bit more decorative that way. And then I happen to have one of these little green Crown Royal bags, so I fill it with pillow stuffing. And then I take some of the red and white baker's twine and put a little hot glue on the end of it and wrap like the Grinch would. And then just put a little dot of glue on the other end of it. And then I have all of these little sweet treats and ornaments and that I had made out of air clay last season and didn't do anything with them, or didn't get to do anything with them. And so I changed directions on my craft, and now we're filling up the Grinch's stolen presents. And I just think it looks so cute. I love that it's overflowing out of the bag, hanging around it. And then just touching up the glitter because I'm not patient and didn't want to wait for it to dry, and apparently messed it up a few times. And then I have some of this Zazz red glitter, and I'm just going around the edges of the sleigh to give it a little bit more color. And I'm doing it in small sections simply because I did not think I had enough to do the whole entire piece. So I just went back and forth and kept it as uniform as possible, and once it was all said and done, I had enough. And now moving on to our next step, we've got these little ornaments that were from Burger King years ago in the Happy Meals. And we happen to have one Cat in the Hat and two of the Thing Twos. And I wanted to do something with them because these are, again, another one of those heavy ornaments that are hard to display on your tree. And I wanted to make a theme out of it, I guess. So I happened to find this sign from the Dollar Tree that was a little calendar, and it has 3 hooks on it. So I removed 2 of the hooks. One I broke, so I worked around it. The tab on the top of it had broke off, so it's just straight, which made it easy for putting the paper on there. But the other 2 I just removed, Mod Podged it on there, and then popped the hooks back in. And the raw edges of these Dollar Tree calendars must have oil or something on them because this glue did not want to take at all. I let it dry some, leave it tacky. I tried making it extra wet. It didn't matter which way I tried it, so I just am wiping it down the best I can and just moving on. Then I take some of those decorative hooks from the Hobby Lobby with the crystals on them and attached one to each of the ornaments. I have 2 going one way and 1 going the other way. This scene that I have as the background is actually from the Cat in the Hat's Christmas. I didn't even know that that was a thing. So this is his sleigh, so I thought that was kind of cute. And then I just take 3 mini ornaments, and they're the opening is big enough to go over top of that hook, and then just hot glue them right down onto the frame. And then I add a little bit of glue behind the ornaments too, just because they're heavy and I don't want them bouncing around and pulling on the hooks. And then I take a little baker's twine and wrap it around that original hanger and make a little bit of a bow out of it as well, which does not turn out to be a pretty bow at all. It got stuck in the glue. I will eventually go back probably and change that into something different for a hanger, but again, we're just rolling with it. And I went ahead and went back to that original Grinch frame that I showed you guys the other day and added some of those little mini lights to it that are made out of the vinyl stickers. I just thought they were too cute, and that black frame was just not cutting it for me. And this just really sets it off, I think. And they're just so adorable. And then I'm going through with some stickles that is just in the color Icicle. So it's just going to give them all a very iridescent glitter when it's all said and done. I wish it stayed dimensional like it does when you put it on there, but unfortunately it does flatten out. But it's a very easy way to apply glitter into very small spaces. And here's a better look at it for you. And now I bring you our final project of this 12-day series, which is probably one of my favorites. We're making a candelabra that I feel is Whoville inspired out of 5 of these oversized candy canes, the plastic ones that you can get at Dollar Tree, and you can find them at Walmart and a lot of the craft stores. And I'm just kind of had figured out where I wanted to cut them, well, melt them. I used my wood burner tool with the knife tip and just melt right on through it like butter. I set it up on these 2 wooden blocks to make sure that I don't end up going through my table. And I also use the block to help wipe off any of the excess plastic off of the knife after I'm done, because if not, it just sits there and burns and it smells terrible. And you want to breathe in as little of this as possible, so a respirator is probably recommended. Then I'm trying to get the edges of them as flat as possible when I melt them off. And then with a little bit of finessing and finagling, I'm able to attach them together with some zip ties. They want to wobble all over the place. I was going to cut all 5 of them down at once, but as I had put the first 3 together, I noticed that as I tightened them together, they wanted to lift off of the table and they were starting to get unlevel. So I decided to just go ahead and attach one at a time and then cut them down where I want them. And I am deliberately making this a little bit sideways, a little bit of a slant to it. I'm just trying to make it flat. But I do want it to have a little bit of an angle because it's Whoville and I want it to be a little crooked. Then I go through with a little bit of hot glue down each side in between them just to hold them together for the most part so I can get rid of the zip ties. And then after I'm done with everything, before I attach the glass, I hit it with B7000 to make sure it's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to attach these fasteners to the ends of each one of these. Fender washers, 1.5 inch. I know they make hardware that actually has like a little cup on the end of it that would actually slip over top of these candy cane pieces. That would be so much better and highly recommended. I unfortunately did not have any, and as with all of my ideas, they're last minute and we just do it because if not, I'll forget what it is. So I am attaching each one of these with the B7000 and a couple dots of hot glue. So you see I'm just a couple little tiny dots to hold it in place for right now, and then we're going to let the glue dry and come back to it. Unfortunately, that one right there, when I seen it lifted, we should have stopped what we were doing and fixed it. I should have let the glue dry, come back to it, because the hot glue and when the hot glue gets into the B7000, it turns all of it to this weird gel, and your hot glue does not want to solidify at all. It's terrible. So if you get into a situation like that, just walk away from it and let it dry. I didn't. I was trying to get this video finished for you guys. So I do have one that ends up letting go on me, and I just make do with it through the video, and it has now since been fixed. But just stop when you are ahead, okay, guys? And now I'm going around and just securing all of it with the B7000 now that everything else is dry. This is the SKU code for the highball glasses that I found at Menards. I think I've also seen them at Walmart, maybe Meijer, but they have all these beautiful glasses in these really pretty pastels that are iridescent. They're so pretty. I knew I needed to make the candelabra with these, but I didn't know how. And my brain went into overdrive, and this is what we come up with. I'm taking some of those swirly picks, the long wooden ones that you can get at like Joann's or Michael's. They are messy, messy, messy. But I'm cutting them down and then just following the natural curvature of it around the center post there. And then I'm just taking probably about 15 inches of garland and wrapping it around the center and gluing it down in spots just to keep it from being too bouncy and to just kind of cover up that middle area and make it pretty. You see the green glass, that one is leaning so bad, but at the same time it didn't act like it was gonna fall until I started to mess with it. If I would have just left it alone, it would have been fine. And I liked that it was leaning. It was cute, and I wanted all of them to lean. But these glasses were just way too heavy for that. They needed to be, for the most part, upright or on top of 5 posts like the center one is. And then I just go through and add in some of the red and white vase filler from the Dollar Tree around the garland and dress it up a little bit. If you are to make one of these, I highly suggest doing this part before you add in all these glasses and try to work around it. And then I have 5 pieces of the garland that I just cut down to size to wrap around each of the glasses. And I just start to freeform it a little bit as I'm putting the glue on it, so it's got a rounded shape to start as I'm wrapping it around each glass to make it a little bit easier to get in there and hold its form. You see me trying to secure that cup a little bit, and here it goes. Luckily, it's not very high up off of the table, and it was a lot slower fall than what it looks being sped up times 20. I am able to secure it at this point, and I prop it up there with the duct tape, and I just then move the table around rather than the candelabra. And then after I'm done filming everything, I do take it apart, let it dry, and re-secure it so that it's done proper. And here is the final result of our Cat in the Hat Christmas. I just think it's such a great way to be able to display some of our keepsake ornaments that are just too heavy to go on the tree. Oh, my wimpy little bow. And here's the final look of our Whoville inspired candelabra. I am so in love with this thing. I love everything about it. And I found oversized tea lights at Walmart to go into them that are just the perfect size for these. Unfortunately, with the glue being as wet as it was, I wasn't going to take a chance of anything going up in flames. So I did not light the candelabra for you. I apologize. And here we have our Whoville Village. Oh my goodness, you guys. I truly cannot express how thrilled I am with this little village. I cannot believe that it's just something that is made out of paper and yarn. I don't think it looks cheap. I think it looks like a Whoville Village. I haven't had anybody else here to tell me otherwise yet, so let me know if I'm delusional in the comments. That's fine. The big Whoville tree here I got from the Dollar Tree in the $5 section and just bent it in a few different ways to make it wonky. And here we have the entire display, so you can see how I have it set up. It's just on a couple of totes in front of my television, and then I have the fake snow down on top of a few different boxes to add levels to the village so that way it could all fit in there. And then here's the Grinch Sleigh. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this series as much as I have creating it. I thank you so much for watching. If you've been here all 12 days, I thank you 12 times as much. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, and I will be back with you all soon.